masters of speed. This is Formula One.
Welcome back, guys, to another setup video. We're at Canada, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We got a wet setup. Let's go and see what we did. I made quite a few changes to this one just to get it right. Canada is a tricky circuit with difficult traction zones, and obviously the wet weather makes it a lot worse than what it actually is. But yeah, I've changed quite a bit on this setup, which is surprising considering I usually stick to the same rule of 2 if it's inters, or +2 if it's inters, and then +4 if it's wet. But yeah, let's have a look what we did. So I went up 2, as you do in an inter setup on the front wing. I went up 2 on the rear wing. But the main changes I made was in the suspension, but we'll get to that. So went on to the transmission, and I went extremely low on the on diff. In the dry setup, it was 70 diff. But I went right down. Traction is really difficult around here, and obviously the lower you go on a diff, the better the traction is, or it feels. So this is what I did. I went +20 on the diff. I went 45 off the diff. I changed that as well, as that was on 55, and then I went 100% engine braking. You still need that engine braking. You need as maximum, obviously, battery recharge as possible. On the suspension geometry, and it's left. Obviously, no changes there. Then onto the suspension, and this is where I changed quite a bit. So I kept the front suspension the same. It was 41. I don't usually change the rear suspension, but for this, it took me by far this one, Canada setup, as being by far the longest one to get right. It took a long time simply because traction is not there around Canada in the dry, let alone in the wet. So I changed the rear suspension from 6 to 4. Front anti-roll bar was at 21. I dropped that down to 15. Rear anti-roll bar was at 19. I dropped that down to 12. I increased the front ride height from 22 to 25. The reason why you do the ride height is because if there's any puddles formed, you don't hit them an aquaplane, because that is a real tragedy if you do that, because the walls are quite close around Canada. Technically, it's like a street circuit, but it's not. So yeah, you have to be really mindful of that. And then I took the rear ride height down by 2 to get it to aid with a lot of things, really. Stiffness of the car, obviously, where I've dropped the rear anti-roll bar, and usually I say you don't need a stiff car if you are doing a wet setup. But yeah, I found that this really helped. It helped me. You guys just chop and change things to make it suit yourselves. But yeah, this one really helped. Obviously, traction is extremely bad. It's traction at Canada in the wet. I don't know why, but it's the worst I've ever felt. It's just awful. But you got to make the best of a bad situation in the wet, and this is the best of the bad situation. Onto the brakes. It's the same. 98% on brake pressure, 56% on front brake bias. I wouldn't change it because, like, traction is poor, braking is poor as well, and lockups happen a lot. And the same on the tire pressures. I wouldn't change those either. But you have to remember, traction is so bad around here that overheating of the rear tires is unreal. You need to drive offline a lot to cool those tires. And again, like I said, traction is poor. So just be mindful of that. This has been Canada. I really hope it helped. Trust me, I struggled with this one. So if you guys struggle, I completely understand. But like I said, this is the best of a bad situation. Do all that good stuff. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And yeah, I hope this one helps, guys. I really do. Let's catch you in the next one. Peace.